Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail, and your host for this week's podcast. Um, you're going to notice something on the podcast if you're watching on YouTube. You're going to see um, a wardrobe change mid podcast, and that is simply because something was wonky in our first segment in the audio, and so I am re-recording the first segment, and so you'll notice that there's going to be a wardrobe change in the middle of the podcast. But just know that it's not your eyes. Nothing crazy went on. There was no malfunctions or anything like that with the wardrobe. It just simply audio was bad. So we're hoping that we will get this re-recorded and get this up for you on YouTube and on all your other podcast apps and all that later on today. It won't be up, of course, at 6 a.m. like it normally is, because it is currently 7:22 on Tuesday morning when I am re-recording the first segment. But hey, it was probably the whole post-championship fog that I think a lot of us are in. And I really don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if it is just, hey, we're off from June until October and it's just getting back in the swing of things, or if it is, we had 3 new people there. Emma was there, my daughter working with us some, also Angela, her first tournament in the Alabama Bass Trail. And then Shannon came down from Virginia, Shannon with Dude Let's Fish, doing some social media content development for us as well. So, I don't remember feeling as disjointed and just felt like I was on the go all weekend. I didn't really have a time to settle in and drink it all in. But that's kind of how tournament days are for me. Just for instance, I typically get to the boat ramp somewhere between 2:50 and 3 a.m. And that is opening up the trailer, cutting all the lights on, getting the studio lights on, checking the trackers to make sure they're reporting, um, making sure that the camera guys have their trackers in their camera bags to make sure that we're tracking them on the water to see who they're closest to. Um, make sure everything's good at boat check, making sure John and everybody's good. Um, there's just a lot of things to do. Plus, just kind of centering myself, checking my notes, making sure I have all the notes that I need for live, making sure Darian, Luke, Jason have everything they need on the water. Everyone's comms is working, everyone's microphones are working, making sure the studio has everything they need back in Birmingham. So there's a lot going on in the morning. And so I typically get there between 2:50, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're on live until 11 o'clock. Of course, if you're watching live, you saw that I called boats out. That was to allow Luke, John, and Jason to be out on the water. Did I say Luke, John, and Jason? I apologize. Luke, Jason, and Darian to be out on the water covering people as soon as we finish calling boats. So try to bring you more action on the live instead of just sitting there calling boats. So I was on there, and I'm not gonna lie, getting back in that is a little hard for me, having been in the live studio for the last couple years. But it allowed them to get out and start covering people pretty rapidly, and that's exciting because that's where the fish catching action happens, not on the blast off boat. So I am glad to be back at it. We have about a week and a half before we're back at the ABT 100. So then we actually get about 2.5 months of prep. And I've said this before, and if you've ever listened to this podcast, you know that this time of the year, and most every year, it's just a cycle. We're either registering for a tournament, we're paying our final payments, or we're fishing, or we're registering, we're paying, and we're fishing. And then this time of the year, you add in sponsorships on top of that. So that's kind of what the world in the Alabama Bass Trail is like. I do say we kind of stuck something in last week that we weren't really expecting. The Decatur Morgan County Tourism Agency recognized the Alabama Bass Trail as their event of the year for 2024. And we were really excited about that. Anytime that you're recognized for what you do and the economic impact that you bring to a community is exciting. So thank you, Danielle Gibson, Don Duke Manier, and the entire staff at the Decatur Morgan County Convention and Visitors Bureau for that honor. We are certainly very appreciative of that. And we don't take our jobs lightly when it comes to that. So If you haven't heard, if you've been under a rock, Nick Turner, Joe Lay, they won the 2-day championship at Lay Lake with 31:43. A 2-day total. Took a really nice 17:40 day one weight and then backed it up with 14:03. And we're going to talk to them in the second segment of the podcast to get their feel on how things went, how they won the tournament, what kind of played into their win a little bit. So you're going to get to hear all of that. You know, they're not going to tell you a specific crankbait. I was standing close to them in the parking lot when we got ready to wrap the TV show, and they were very, very adamant that they did not want to disclose a specific crankbait, but they do kind of get into how they use that crankbait to take home the win. So championship, again, if you watched, you saw we were in a fog delay both days. Did not get out as soon as we wanted to on day 2, held them a little bit longer. And honestly, that was simply because day 1, I felt pretty comfortable with the way the fog was lifting, the density of the fog from where the blast off boat was until the S. We felt pretty comfortable with that. John and I were both on the boat. We both agreed to that. Sent everybody out. And then later on that evening, I got a couple of texts from people that said, hey, I know that you're unable to see downriver and you made the best choice that you can, but it was pretty scary as people started getting downriver. And one guy actually that I would say I'm friends with said that's maybe the most scared he's ever been in the boat. So we elected to do the national anthem. Thankful for the Columbiana Fire and Rescue that came out and presented the colors each morning for us. It was quite the picture first thing in the morning. I know a bunch of you showed that on your social media, and thank you for that. You know, I say this all the time, tournaments don't just happen. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of great partners like Discover Shelby that helped us all week. And then the Columbiana Fire and Rescue Department that came out and presented our colors. And what an amazing flag that was. For the pictures and everything, just so much goes in to making an event special, and I think they did their part. So it was a lot of fun. 171 teams qualified for the event. Unfortunately, 10 did not show up on Thursday night to check in. So 161 took the water on Friday morning. Um, you know, we had that meeting on Thursday night. It's a mandatory meeting at the championship. I want to send out a huge shout out to Phoenix Boats for sending someone there to meet with our anglers and give out hats, and Discover Shelby. Again, they were so integral to being able to have this event, not just because they pay a hosting fee, but they were there, they were engaged, they wanted to hear what you had to say, they had great gifts to give away. Kendall Williams does a phenomenal job, and I really appreciate her taking time out of her schedule. I mean, they work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They also work Thursday night from, 5 to 7:30 or whenever it is that we have to be there. They're out there on Saturdays. They have events on Sundays. So it is a lot of time away from your family, and I appreciate them coming out there. Levi Bruns and Lee Means from Garmin was there. Levi stayed with us throughout the entire weekend. He actually helped our team take down the trussing system on Saturday evening. Lee Means has been with us several times. You see them at the Garmin booth all the time. So I appreciate them coming out. Levi taking time to see what it means to be an Alabama Bass Trail tournament, see what it means to be an Alabama Bass Trail angler. Really taking in all the sights and sounds of Alabama Bass Trail. So thank you, Levi. A little disappointing. We had some guys that felt the need to sit back in the back of the room and cut up and wouldn't shut up. And unfortunately, it's some of the guys that's fished with us a lot. And you would think that by now they would know, how important those meetings are, especially if you're a first-time Alabama Bass Trail angler fishing the championship. Some of those guys need to know that information, need to be able to hear that information. It's just really disappointing that some people are so selfish that they can't understand that it's a time for information. It's a time for really understanding, and especially those people that have never been through it. You would just think they'd be more understanding, and you almost want to think how they act at their jobs if they can't, for what, 15, 20 minutes, just sit down and hush and let people, pay attention. But anyway, people are going to do what they're going to do. I've learned after 11 years, you're not going to change people. So we just move on and hope that maybe their heart's convicted over it. I don't know. But you would think with with the amount of effort that our team puts into putting on a quality event, and especially a $100,000 no entry fee championship, that you could give us 20 minutes of your undivided attention. But I guess that's asking too much. You know who you are. I'm not going to call you out. I could, because I know who you are. It's so bad that my daughter even had to look at him and say, guys, can you just pipe down? There are people who would like to hear what they have to say. So they know who they are, so they can live with that. But something that is really exciting is Nick Turner and Jolie took home $50,000, actually over $50,000 when you look at their boat contingency. 3143 for the 2-day total. Going into day 2, 3.5 pounds separated 15th place from first place. And it was an exciting tournament. If you watch, we did the hot seat. We got Brett Harrell, Tyler Smart in the hot seat right before the top 5 came up from day 1. And they sat there until the final team came through, Nicholas Turner and Jolie. Only a half a pound difference in first and second place. Looking down the list, we played 25 places, 26th place, and I probably shouldn't even point that out because they're not going to be happy with me, and I'm going to have to see them next week at the ABT 100. Josh Chappell, Paul Davis in a 26th place with total weight of 2328. Last place finish, getting a check, was Brandon Blackwood, Clint Blackwood at 2351. So I do want to talk a little bit about the bait report. You've heard me talk about this before. We did 2 different bait reports, day 1 and day 2. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because overwhelmingly, since I took this job 11 years ago, one of the things that I've heard more than anything is the largemouth bass population declining on the Coosa River. I talk about it when I go to Montgomery. I've met with the Department of Conservation several times. You hear everyone out on social media has a plan to revitalize the Coosa River. You know, it's tournaments are terrible. Recreational fishing is the only thing that's worth a crap. Stop bringing tournaments, whatever. It's a laundry list of things that you see out on social media of what we need to do, what we shouldn't be doing. This group's better than this group. I mean, it's just a whole thing. But when you look at it, and I encourage every tournament organization to do this, and they don't, but they should. When you look at it from a standpoint of day 1, we had 161 teams take the field on Lay Lake. 131 teams weighed in limits. 143 teams weighed in 1 fish or more. 697 bass were weighed in. 406 of those were largemouth bass. 291 of those were spotted bass. We had 1 fish over 5 pounds. I believe that was a 5.59. Joey Adderhold, Tim Hatcher on day 1, taking the big fish money home. That's a $500 big fish day 1 and a $500 big fish day 2. Total weight, 1,519.32. And 693 of the 697 fish were released back alive into Lay Lake. So pretty good numbers. I was excited to see the number of largemouth bass. On day 2, we had 124 teams take to the water. 76 teams weighed in limits. 88 teams weighed in 1 fish or more. 422 fish were caught. Out of the 422, 256 of those were largemouth bass, and 166 were spotted bass. Limits that we weighed in, or size that we weighed in, were 12 inches, largemouth and spotted bass. And we measure our fish with the mouth closed and tail fan to achieve the greatest length. Largemouth, or big bass of the day on day 2, was a 5.90. Brett Harrell and Tyler Smart had that fish. 422 fish for 903.17 pounds. And the largest weight for that day was 1715. So that kind of gives you your day 1, day 2 bait report. Overall, I think Luke and I chose, I think I had 31.5. Luke had 33, I think is what he chose, what we thought would win the tournament, and we were dead on. I mean, 31.43. So if you're listening, and I hope that you are, I would have won that as being closest to the pin, I guess, in golf terms, which I'm going to play golf this week with Am First. But just talking about Luke and my ability to choose winning teams on the Alabama Bass Trail, how we did not have Nick Turner and Joe Lay in our radar, I have no idea. That's 100% fail on us. But looking at the teams that we chose, both of us had Paul Davis and Josh Chappell listed. They finished in 26th place. Another salt to the wound there. I'm sure I'm going to hear about that. John Kellett and Zeke Gossett, they were also on both of our radar. They did not weigh in day 2. I think they finished somewhere down in the 80 area, but they did not weigh in on day 2. Kobe Card and Chris Rutland were both in our list. They finished in 9th place. CJ Knight and Anthony Goggins, your 2024 Anglers of the Year in the South, they finished 11th. We both had Josh Butts and Stephen McAvoy. They finished in 30th place. Just looking around some of the other, Steve Winslet and Rob Lee Steve Winslet, we had them in our race as well. And I believe they finished in like 16th place because I do remember sending a check to Rob at Possum Trot Road. Yes, 16th place. They had 2464 total weight. Let's see some of the other teams that we picked. Noah and Cole Godwin, I don't think you go to Lay Lake without picking them. They finished in 7th place with 28-13. And then Connor and Caleb Miller, the young kids, I think like 17 and 19 now, started as a true high school team back in February. They finished in 38th place. So honestly, not a bad weekend for those kids. Yeah, they were out of the money, but when you look at the 161 teams they went against, they certainly performed. So excited about that. One of the other things that I will go ahead, Luke, if you're listening, and I hope that you are, there was a little ball game going on that started about the time that weigh-in started. A little game, up in Knoxville, Tennessee versus Alabama. And at the end of the game, Tennessee was the victors, and they got to sing Rocky Top and smoke 'em up and all the things. So congratulations not only to Luke, we have a number of Tennessee guys that fish with us. So congratulations on that win. Rightfully earned. So congratulations on that. I apologize, guys. Uh, it's a day around here. I am not your typical Alabama fan. I am an Alabama fan. I'm not your typical Alabama fan. I don't live and breathe and die by the TV when Alabama is on. So, whatever it means to you guys, congratulations. I appreciate you sticking it out through the weigh-in and not being too upset with me that I have a tournament on Alabama Tennessee game day. So, something else I want to really, really encourage you to do is go and search out the photo galleries out on alabamabasstrail.org. Noah Dickinson does a hell of a job capturing the moments that mean the most to you guys, and then, just capturing the essence of the Alabama Bass Trail, promoting our sponsors, but really capturing the essence of an early morning boat check, of a late afternoon weigh-in, of the pinnacle moment of, declaring a champion, out on the water, early morning, late afternoon. He just does such a job for us. And also take a look at some of the drone footage that Ben and Thomas were able to get this weekend. Fog is not a great thing for fishermen, but it is a great thing for photography. And we had some of the best over the weekend. So thankful to those guys. And I'm going to say this, I'm just thankful for our team. I would put our team up against any team in bass fishing. And I said this to them actually on Friday as we're setting up. I brought them all together and I said, had people comment that they are so helpful, they're so kind. They are the same people at 5 o'clock in the afternoon as they were at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that speaks volumes for them. And people say all the time, oh, well, it starts at the top. Well, this is just who they are. This is just who they are. And yes, there's a standard set, but it is something that they do without even knowing that they're doing it. Really, it's just who they are. So I'm very thankful for them. The live team, Luke, Darian, Jason, they're the ones that get the props, but it is Jared and Russell and Kenny behind the cameras. It is Vince and Herbie and Robert and Thomas that are our engineers and our producers back in the studio. Thomas being on site with us. Ben running the drone. It is just so many of our team members that are out there getting the job done to produce live and to produce this event. So I'm very, very thankful for them. If you haven't looked, be honest with you, you can go to the website and see your results page. It is one of the most viewed pages on the Alabama Bass Trail website, presented by Busch Light. Didn't have a Busch Light on Saturday, but I did have a couple on Sunday, trying to refresh and recharge and get ready for Monday morning. So you can take a look there. The results are up. Your story, your recap story is up. You can hear all about how first, second, and third place, Nicholas Turner, Joe Lay, Brett Harrell, and Tyler Smart, and then Walker Brown and Sloan Pennington. I mean, just how they got it done. Walker Brown, Sloan Pennington, Brett Harrell, Tyler Smart coming out of the North Division. Actually, 5 of the 10, I think, came out of the North Division in the top 10. So great tournament. Tickled to death for Nicholas Turner, Joe Lay. I can't believe they've never won before. Nick actually said in a off-stage interview with us is they have a finish in every spot in the top 10 except a first place finish. And so if you're going to win one, I'd win the $50,000 one, that's for sure. So they did have an Angler of the Year back in 2015 and have had several money placements, but no wins on the Alabama Bass Trail until now. They're going to talk about a little crankbait. I'm not going to give that away, and I don't think they're going to give it away. That another little thing they talked in the parking lot about, and I promised I would not say anything because contrary to popular belief, I don't talk about lures, areas, spots, dots, whatever you want to call it. It's just not my job to do that. This was something very special to them. They feel it was the key to their success, and they need to keep their secret. So we'll let them do that. So when we come back, we are going to talk with Nick Turner, Joe Lay, your 2024 Alabama Bass Trail champions on Lay Lake. We'll talk about how they got it done, what it means to them to fish alongside some of their buddies out on the Alabama Bass Trail, and why they choose to fish the Alabama Bass Trail. I certainly know they have 50,000 reasons to fish it now. So, guys, we'll be back in just a moment on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned.
I've been with Jax for 25 years. Hey! And I've seen my share of game days here in Tuscaloosa, and nothing brings us together like football and good food. Good luck, y'all. We're firing up the grill with our new Steakhouse Bacon Burger and Steakhouse Patty Melt. 2 all-beef patties, mushrooms, onions, melted Swiss, and our signature steak sauce. Whichever way you go, you're gonna win. Score the new Steakhouse Bacon Burger or Steakhouse Patty Melt from Jax. I'm Taylor Kitchens, and I'm all about the South.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. And as I promised, your winners of the 2024 Alabama Bass Trail Championship, Mr. Nick Turner and Joe Lay. Welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew, I don't know how y'all feel. Y'all go out and fish for 8, 9, 10 hours at times, 2 days in a row. I know y'all practice many times before that, but like Sunday, I was just on, like, I was just exhausted. I don't know how y'all were. Well, of course, y'all took home $25,000 piece, so y'all may have had a little bit more pep in your step than I did.
I was pretty exhausted myself too.
You kind of, I guess you could say you kind of suck it up when you look at the outcome,
Yeah. Well, $25,000 is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you might have been tired from carrying all that money around in your pocket.
Yeah. Yes,
well,
ma'am.
I know, Nick, I know your family was there. Joe, I didn't know if your wife was there or not.
No, she stayed at home.
Okay.
She would love to be in there, but she wouldn't want to drive over there.
I understand.
She would love to be there if somebody would have drove her over there.
I understand. You live a pretty good ways from there, right?
Yes, I live in Tuscaloosa. I actually live just a little bit east out towards Coker, Alabama.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
Just about.
Have y'all fished the Alabama Bass Trail every year together?
Every year. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Since it started?
11 years. That's what I thought. I went back and that's what I thought. For one, I thought Joe fished with somebody else first, but he didn't. He fished with you. That's what I was thinking, that y'all had fished every year. And Nick, you said you've had a spot in the top 10. You finished everywhere in the top 10 except first place.
We have. So it was kind of getting one of those things. It was kind of getting in your mind, was you ever going to win one?
Well, I said this at the meeting the other night. Brent Crow's fished 122 tournaments and still hadn't won a tournament. You know, he fished the North, South, and 100s, and he doesn't fish the South now. He's only been not fishing them for 2 years now, but he kind of got on to me for calling him out like that at the meeting, and that probably was bad. I probably shouldn't have done that, but Brent's a big boy. He can take it. Y'all do have an Angler of the Year, though.
Yeah, we won Angler of the Year. Back when y'all used to go down to Mobile when it was that was a grinder type tournament at Mobile, and
Right.
that kind of gave us a little bit of an edge, So they took that out there. It was well, one year we was leading Angler of the Year and just blew it. What was it? The last tournament, Nick?
I think it was the fourth tournament. We just let it we just lost it. Just blew it.
At Jordan.
Yes, at Jordan. At a lake Jordan. We have a lot of knowledge about.
I
just blew it, but it was a lake that we fished later in the year that year.
I said earlier, and I don't know that I said it on the podcast, absolutely Lake Jordan 2 years ago. That's the lake I picked you guys to have a win on. Because I felt like you had more knowledge and had more time fishing there. So between Lay Lake and Lake Jordan, which one would you say you have more time on?
Definitely Lake.
Okay. All right.
Lake.
So I was wrong.
Everybody. We only go to Jordan when it is cold.
Yeah.
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 Jordan's more of a powerhouse, it fishes better when it's got a lot of flow on it. Where Lay, you can actually catch fish on Lay with or without the flow,
Okay.
But Jordan ain't like that. Jordan's, if it ain't get flowing, if it's clear as a bale, it is tough. Well, that may change with live scope, but it's tough the way we like to fish.
Right. So out of the 5 locations that the Alabama Bass Trail goes to, which is your favorite lake to go to?
Probably Lake.
Eufaula. Later,
Eufaula too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Eufaula.
It's changed a lot in the last couple years.
Which one you talking about?
Eufaula.
It's gotten a little tougher in the last few years, but Lake Eufaula is a lake that is, if you're down there in the spring, there's always a good shallow bite. And if you're down there when it's a little later, there's always a bite, offshore in the brush or on the ledges. And we have a little bit of knowledge both ways, so we always fish pretty good down there.
Well, I know we're supposed to be talking about Lay and supposed to be talking about your championship, but I want to ask you about that because you said on stage y'all don't scope. You're kind of old school fishermen that you don't like to scope. So if you go to Eufaula in the warmer time and you got to go offshore, how is it just knowledge that you go off of, or what are you looking for from a fisherman's perspective if you're not using live scope?
Well, I mean, we know where brush piles are. We know how to use side imaging the bet finders to go find brush piles, but we just pull up to them and fish them. We're not live scoping to see if the fish is sitting over there.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear.
We're casting in it to see if he's sitting over there.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear because a lot of people are like, you just can't do it without live scope, but you guys showed us at Lay Lake you can. So I want to talk about that a little bit. First of all, 31.43, is that where you thought you needed to be to take home the win at Lay Lake in this time of the year?
Let me go first. I will say the first day I thought we outdone ourselves a little bit.
Okay.
But I thought if you caught 15 pounds a day, you'd be strong, which would have been around 30 pounds. And the first day we caught a little better stringer fish than I was expecting. And then the second day, it fished like I expected it to be. It was real tough, just real hard to get bites. And when you was getting a bite, you was either getting just a little fish or a real good quality bite. You wouldn't know in betweens. It was either a pound and a half or 3.5, 4 pounder. We just didn't catch a lot of 2.5 pound fish. So the bite was bite the way we was fishing was pretty tough, but we knew if we got enough bites that you could be competitive, Because I spent some time over practice, and after my practice over there, I was trying to rule out if it could be one fishing on the bank, fishing the water willow. Because in October, it's not uncommon to win a tournament over there, just strictly fishing water willow on the bank.
Okay.
And it wasn't cold enough for it. And we ruled it out. We felt like it would be one up there, so we'd fish shallow a little bit in the morning, and we'd just wrap it and spent the rest of the time fishing, knowledge of what we knew off the bank.
All right, Nick, did you feel like 31-43 was where you needed to be to win it?
Well, what I was going to say is coming into that tournament, we knew a lot of the way that tournament was going to play down was going to be dependent on the weather. Is if you got enough cool weather in here to make the fish get shallow and start biting. And we kind of knew coming into that we didn't have that. And I didn't get to practice for the tournament like I wanted to because of that, with my job, that hurricane rolled in, and I spent 2 weeks before the tournament working in Georgia. But Joe had been over there several times practicing, and he'd done a lot of shallow fishing and just really wasn't being very productive. And the Sunday before the tournament rolled around, I went over there and I spent most of my day offshore and didn't get a lot of bites. I saw 3 quality fish. So that clued us in that there was some quality fish offshore. And the first day we started shallow and started on the bottom end of the lake, and at 11 o'clock, we probably had, 8 pounds, Joe?
8, 9, we wasn't much.
And we moved offshore at about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and we caught our 17 pounds after 11:30 offshore.
Okay, let me just interject something here. And you said you didn't get a lot of time to practice. You went and worked storm damage. Daniel Montgomery that works with us went and worked storm damage as well. How much do you have to rely on your partner to do the practice, but then even if you're like, man, I sure wish we'd go shallow, even though Joe said, dude, there wasn't much in shallow, how much do you have to rely on your partner? Isn't that like the core thing in team tournament trails, is how much reliability and faith that you put in your partner?
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the things. Me and Joe have fished together long enough. When he told me he went shallow, I knew what areas of the lake he was fishing. He didn't really have to tell me. I know where we fish shallow.
Yeah.
So I went against the grain, I just done totally something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't saying that made the difference in the tournament, but it definitely gave us a clue that there was some quality fish still offshore.
Right. Day one, you weighed 1740. You said you caught those after 11 o'clock. What time did you catch the last fish that was in your bag?
Which day?
On day one.
Probably 2:30.
Yeah, what time did you catch that big spot that we thought we had late?
I'm gonna say 2:30 because I thought we had enough time to maybe catch one more, but we never did that day.
Yeah, that was probably 2 something that day. Yeah.
Y'all had boat 85 day 2. What was your boat number day 1? Had to be right around that same.
87.
87. I was gonna say you had about the same boat number both days. Did boat number help you, hurt you?
Didn't really.
I'm gonna say it worked out pretty good.
Hey,
well, I'm glad you said that, Nick, because we filmed the Best of TV show on Wednesday night, and we had both Angler of the Year teams on. And would you believe they blamed me for them having bad boat numbers all year long? However, they still won Angler of the Year. So I basically took credit for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times, boat draw can play a difference in a tournament, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're going to get good draws, you're going to get bad draws.
Well,
it's up to you to make it work.
When you fish Lake Jordan, you're fishing a lake that's fish is small.
Mm-hmm.
So a good boat draw is crucial because you might get 1 or 2 places that you don't have to share with somebody. In other words, you might get to be the first one on that rotation,
Right.
And that may make a big difference in your overall weight.
Right.
But a lake as big as Lay Lake and Lake Eufaula and places like that, and boat numbers, they're not really as crucial as they are on a lake that fishes small. I mean, sure, everybody like to leave number one, but I see them sometimes. I'd rather be the last one to weigh in.
I've had several people tell me they would pay to have boat number 225 every tournament. I would not want 225 on Lake Jordan. I can tell you that right now.
No. By the time you left, you would probably just have to take you somewhere you could set the boat down.
Right. Agree. All right, let's talk a little bit about weights, or baits that you used. I know you said a crankbait, and I am not going to say what the crankbait was. I was in the parking lot when you were talking about it, so I'm not going to say what the crankbait was. But I'll let you guys talk about the baits that you chose to use or that was most productive for you on Lay Lake this past weekend. Nick, if you want to start.
Well, the crankbait was the primary weapon for us. As far as the fish we weighed in, I kind of sat back and thought about it to myself, and 7 of our weigh-in fish come off the crankbait.
How deep were you going with the crankbait?
8 to 12 foot.
8 to 12 foot. Okay. Any color that you want to give away?
We kind of kept our colors changed up a little bit, and I don't know that color was that big of a role. I think it was just getting a moving bait in the range that the fish was, and I think a lot of times they just reacted to it, because when you got bit, they bit hard. Fish are starting to feed up on shad, and they're starting to fatten up, and just a fast moving bait coming by them. I think they just reacted to it most of the time.
Okay. So again, I'm not going to mention what the bait was. 6 to 8 foot is kind of what you were in. And I heard you on the Academy Sports and Outdoors wrap up say that you had to be around those bait balls. You really need to be around those real thick bait balls, bait areas of the lake. Were you able to mimic that in different parts of the lake, or were you staying mainly in one area?
You talking to me or Joe?
Joe. We'll ask Joe that question.
It really, there was a lot of bait present, in several areas of the lake. It wasn't just one particular place. But the majority of the quality fish, you had to have a big bait presence.
Okay.
In the bait presence, before we had live scope, before everybody had live scope and was able to target fish around bait wads, we knew where the fish was at by the bait. Now,
right.
We didn't actually know how to exactly throw right on the fish.
Right.
But when you fish stuff enough, you learn things that they relate to and what they set up on, and then you target what they're setting up on, and it gives you a little bit of an edge on getting a bite, because you feel like, there ought to be a fish sitting there. I put this bait in front of him, he might bite it.
Right.
And when you're dealing with clear water too, it's harder to get a fish to react sometimes in clear water if he gets a good look at your bait.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If
right.
he gets a real good look at it, you probably heard a lot of them say on live scope, I seen him run out there, he chased it all the way back to the boat. Yeah, he probably did. He got a real good look at it, because he's just floating it along real slow, shaking it. And he said, that ain't nothing I want to eat.
Right.
Plenty of them walk. So
plenty of that really floating around. Well, let's talk about that. The water was pretty clear. I mean, when I was out on the blast off boat during the fog delay, I mean, you could see, the water wasn't stained. Of course, we haven't had any rain, so they've not been generating, haven't been pulling a lot of current. So the water was pretty clear.
Yes, it was pretty clear for that, for Coastal River Lake. They'll get clear if you don't have no rain, and they'll get dirty when you have rain. So
yeah,
when it's clear, it makes the bite a little tougher. You really have to rely more on reaction bite, and that crankbait would make that fish react. And they would, when they bit it, because Nick caught a big spot on day one that literally I tore the hook up getting it out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So he ate the thing, which I tried to beat him off with the dip net. It's a good thing he did, but
You tried your best to lose it. Is that what you're saying?
I tried to beat him off with the dip net because you got a big old spot about 4 pounds. And they're mean and they're pretty tough to land.
Mm-hmm.
And your partner's done let him by the net 2 or 3 times, and you want him in that net.
Yeah.
I think about the 3rd time by there, I took a stab at him and missed him.
Oh no!
I said, man, he's got to be hooked good.
Yeah.
But when we landed him, I mean, I literally, when I got the hook out of him, I said, Nick, you're going to put your new hook on there. I tore the hook up getting it out of his mouth.
Wow. Well, y'all didn't have any dead fish.
No, ma'am.
Did not have any dead fish, and that's a good thing because that would have been the difference in 1st and 2nd place and the difference of about $40,000. So that's a good thing.
Don't even talk like that.
Well, we've seen one dead fish takeaway angler of the year. We saw it with John Pollard and Dallas Weldon at Lake Jordan one year. We saw it with Kelly J and Lanier Burton last year at Logan Martin Lake. They had a dead fish penalty there, and it ended up not only costing them the angler of the year in the South, but the overall angler of the year. It would have been about a 17-point difference, which would have given them the overall angler of the year. So that dead fish penalty is severe. We only had, I think, 4 or 5 dead fish this tournament. So that was good. Let's talk about day 1, 1740. On a 2-day event, do you lean on them and catch all you can catch day 1, or do you try to preserve fish for day 2?
We didn't have enough fish to be worried about preserving. We had to catch what we could catch.
Yeah. The only good thing was that we had enough knowledge of the lake that day 2 we run a lot of stuff that we didn't fish day 1.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we didn't even go way down to the lake from day 2. So we had an hour or so fog delay.
Mm-hmm.
So that really cut into the early time. So we spent just a little time shallow in the morning, and then we just went fishing.
Yeah. When we had the fog delay on day 2, did that concern you at all about the time that the fish were biting, kind of their feeding window? Were you worried about that at all?
No, not really. So we was, if we got 1 or 2 early bites, that was a blessing. If we didn't, like I said, the first day we caught the majority of our weight fish after 11 o'clock. So,
okay.
So we felt like if we had 1 or 2 in there that wasn't going to come out before 10 o'clock, we was blessed, And Nick caught a nice one on day 2. As soon as I stopped the boat, I made him probably the 2nd cast he threw. A fish that we're gonna weigh in.
Okay.
So that fog delay didn't hurt too bad.
Well, there was only a half a pound difference between 1st and 2nd place. I think 2 1/3 pounds between 1st and 5th. Y'all have said it a couple times. It was a stingy lay lake, not the lay lake we see in the springtime. Going into a championship, do you want for it to be a tough lake, or would you rather it not be so stingy?
Well, it works out better for us if it's stingy. Don't you feel like it, Dick?
Yeah, if the fish are really biting, we're just going to get a good pat on the back and say that a boy at the end of the day. But we tend to do better in tournaments where it's tough.
Okay. All right. Is that, and Joe and you, Nick, you've both said this, you have so much experience on that lake. Time and time again, we talk about this on the podcast. It doesn't matter how fast your boat is. It doesn't matter the electronics on the front of your boat. The experience on a body of water is usually what sets anglers apart. And you may agree or disagree on that.
I would say there's no substitution for time on the water, regardless. And we got a lot of young anglers coming up that can drop the total motor in the water, cut a depth finder on, and can compete with you. But if you cut that off, could he?
Good
and
point.
a prime example of that is one area we was fishing. There was another boat, and I really don't know who they were, but they obviously caught some fish in there because they stuck with that one area, which we kind of came and left, but there was a couple little sweet spots in that area, and we could tell by the way they was fishing, they didn't know where those sweet spots were. And we was able to slip in there around them and hit the sweet spots, and we caught fish.
Mm-hmm.
And we could pull out and leave, and they was just generally fishing the whole area.
Yeah.
And I made the comment one time to Joe that we slipped in there and caught a fish, and they saw us. And I told them, I said, we need to move this boat around so they don't pinpoint this little spot.
Right.
And apparently they never did, because we never saw them sit on it. They would be close, but they never got on it.
Yeah.
So talking about,
you have to defense fish in these terms a lot of times, because if people see you on something, that they may not get on it this year, but next year,
yeah.
Oh, you may be in trouble.
Right. Nick, you said it.
Spot on Jordan. We had a spot on Jordan that was
yep.
like that. We caught a big bunch of fish, and the next year, oh Lord, it wasn't Joe and Nick wasn't gonna fish it.
Y'all didn't get to it. Nick, you referred to a spot. We've heard of guys like Brian Stifler, Wesley Gore, that on the Alabama River that year at Cooter's Pond, they fished a spot that was about as big as the front of your truck. I mean, like the hood of your truck. Are you talking about a sweet spot in an area that's that size? Or are you talking about a sweet spot that's the size of, maybe half that size?
No, I'm talking about a spot maybe the size of your truck.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Okay.
8 or 10 casts, you've covered it.
Okay. All right. Are there any other baits that you use throughout the day to either locate fish or that were, key to your success?
Worm, plastic worm, Texas rig.
Yeah.
Okay. Any kind of weight on it?
Fish. 4-ounce bullet lead peg.
Okay. What kind of line were y'all using?
We old school P-line.
P-line. Okay. All right. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. As a matter of fact, Joe, when I moved in August, I had a yard sale a couple years ago, got rid of a ton of my fishing stuff just because I don't get to go fishing anymore. When you do it as your real job, it doesn't nearly have the appeal as it does when you get to go out there and compete and do the things y'all do. So I'd gotten rid of a lot of my fishing stuff, but I had one tackle box left. And when I moved it this summer, I opened it up and there were 2 boxes of P-line in that tackle box. And it was hard. I went ahead and threw it away. I mean, been in there probably 10 years, but I don't hate that you have some P-line on there. That doesn't hurt my feelings.
Nick kind of pokes at me a lot because I use a lot of fluorocarbon on crankbaits and stuff. He kind of pokes at me a lot because fluorocarbon's strong. It's a good line, but if you ever backlash it and kink it, it will break on you so easy. And so Nick don't even hardly spool it up on his reels, but I'm a little bit. I like it because it's able to get a bait a little deeper sometimes, and it seems to work a little better for some applications, but when you're trying to handle a fish as far as in cover and wood, rocks, or whatever, hard to beat that old P-line. It's a little bit bigger diameter, a little more abrasive resistant. It's got a little forgive to it,
I was going to say what kind of
stuff that works.
I was going to say, what kind of memory does it have? Do you see that it has a lot of memory to it, or is it a lot more forgiving?
On a
cold morning, it's got a lot of memory to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's cheap enough. You spool it off or spool you some fresh on there, real regular.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you got that fluorocarbon and a spool of that fluorocarbon is $25 for 200-yard spool.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to just spool it off when it gets a little memory on it.
No, no.
You know what I mean?
No, it makes that check you took home a whole lot less when you got to spool all your reels and all that. I do want to ask: did you retie after you were catching fish, or did you feel confident enough that your line was okay?
Oh no, we retie regular.
Retie regularly, okay.
Retie regular. Yeah, I don't want to lose. Never do I want to lose a fish. It is my fault.
Yeah.
whether it be a negligence on my knot or negligence on my handling of the fish. If you lose one, that'd just be something that you couldn't help.
Yeah.
But sometimes with that old fluorocarbon, you'll set the hook and the line to break. Well, that was your fault for using that stupid line. But it's strong if it ain't kinked.
Right. Right. Well, I think that's one thing that we've seen in some of the younger teams when we've watched them catch fish, that maybe they don't sit down and retie that knot. And I've heard that over and over and over. To not be lazy on that side of things is to make sure that you always retie, even if it's not necessarily a fish catch. But sometimes you retie because, like, the abrasive stuff under the water and areas that you're fishing, that it might be better, especially in the grass up here at Gunnersville, to retie after you've ran it through that eelgrass several times.
Yeah, even that old, we're using most everybody's using a tungsten lead now,
Right.
Even that tungsten lead, even if you don't get a bite, if you casting that bait around that line, sliding with that tungsten on your knot, after a while, it do you justice to retie, because if you don't, you're gonna wind up setting the hook. And most of the time, when you got a bad knot, you don't get to fight the fish. You just set the hook and the line breaks.
Right.
So you don't know what kind of opportunity you just lost, whether it a keeper or a 4 or 5 pounder.
Right.
And then in the back of your mind, you're trying to just, that was a gar or something, had some teeth. That's why that line broke. but you don't really know.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
Well, I want to ask y'all a question. I don't know that I've ever asked this question to anybody, but I want to ask it to y'all. You're both very busy with your jobs. Joe, I know y'all have fished for a long, long time. Why fishing? Why is that your sport? Why is that your passion?
You asking me first?
Yeah, I'll ask you first.
Well, that's a hard one. I used to love to hunt, and hunting got so expensive that I loved the deer hunt, turkey hunt, and all of it. Is I realized I couldn't have so many hobbies, so I chose one, and I chose fishing because you can fish year round in the South.
Yeah.
We have some of the best fishing by far is when deer season's in and everybody goes hunting. Man, them Coos River spots bite, and it's just some good fishing all through the wintertime.
Yep.
And I chose that because you go fishing, and I would say it's relaxing, but I'd be lying to you because I'm so competitive,
Yeah.
I love the competitive side of tournament fishing, where you're competing against the fish and the anglers. You got to figure out how to catch the fish, and then you got to outfish the 225 guys that's going to be on the water with you that day.
Right.
And it's a lot of mental, the mental side of it. It's preparing for it too,
Yeah.
And it's just competition, and it's good, clean competition. And I enjoy it. Been doing it ever since I think my mama entered me in a tournament when I was 17. And I finished second. And she put me in a tournament because I was catching bass. She said, Joe, they had a bass tournament down at Allison. I said, Mama, them guys, they know what they're doing. She said, what's them you catching? I said, they bass. She said, I'm going to pay you entry fee. And I had a little 40-horse on a little aluminum boat. Went out there and almost won it. Finished second in it. At 17 years old. I was hooked.
Wow. That's only been a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, let's see. I turned 60 in February, so tell me how many years that's been.
Yeah, okay. We just won't talk about that. Nick, let's talk about why you choose bass fishing.
I don't know if I can pinpoint one thing, but my parents were always big in outdoors. We always hunted, fished, turkey hunted, frog gigging. I don't know how many folks know what that is, but I remember many nights me and my dad going frog gigging. But he always kept me in outdoors, and somewhere fishing clicked with me where I started liking it more than hunting, which I mean, I still hunt now, but, and he got me in a bass club when I was 15, and the bass club had a rule, you had to be 16. So they went ahead and let me in, and I remember the first Alabama Bass Federation tournament I fished. We fished it out of Selma City Landing, and I was a no boater, and I won big fish and come in like fifth that day. And the big fish, they paid it to me. I remember I won $1,150, and they gave it to me in 5, 10s, and 20s. So I had an envelope that was super thick, and I was like, I'm all about this. So, but yeah, I mean, it boils down to, the money's nice sometimes, but it boils down to the competition. And for the most part, you got a great group of guys you fish against, and some of these guys, I fished against them for 20, 25 years. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you have a lot of you gain a lot of respect for guys too, because a lot of guys know what you do and you know what they do, and you never run over one another. You never see They never come in on top of you. They may slide in there and see you somewhere, and they just keep going.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that we fish around on the Coosa River, on the Alabama River. That's the respect of the game, But I don't think you see that as much with the younger crowd coming up. They seem to want to talk to one another and, oh, come on in here and help me catch some of these fish.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want nobody helping me catch no dang fish. If you see me fishing somewhere, you better leave me alone.
You better turn around and go the other way, huh?
Yeah, that's what I think. But, some of these younger guys, they'll call their buddies, come on over here and help me. And there'll be 3 of them fishing the same hole.
Yeah.
I got some good buddies, but we ain't fishing the same hole together.
Yeah.
You may fish it when I leave, but, that's just the way we think,
Right.
And we got enough respect. If I see you in an area and I want to fish it, I'll go somewhere else. I'll let you, I'll let you have it, and I may come back to it later on. And that's the group of guys we come up with the last 20 years, 25 years, and they still like that. A lot of those guys, we fish against Kobe and Chris on Lay Lake, and they fish a lot of the same style we fish, but we don't never have no conflict with them. They see us somewhere, they go on. We see them somewhere, we go on.
Right.
That's just I guess you could say, the respect to the game that you see a little more from older generation than the younger generation. They want to share a little bit more knowledge together. We put rods up and we don't tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
If I got an edge, if I figure an edge out, I want to keep my edge. I don't want you to know it.
Oh, I heard that in the parking lot. That's why I didn't mention the crankbait that you're talking about, because I heard that in the parking lot, and I wasn't about to.
Yeah, we got a crankbait that's just it's an old school crankbait, and they don't even make the thing no more, And we got a lot of confidence in the bait, so we just throw it.
Yeah.
And not saying it is so super duper beyond far better than everybody else's plug. It'll catch them.
It'll catch them. It obviously did. It obviously
did. We got
did.
enough confidence in it. We got enough confidence in it that we'll throw it like it'll catch them. You know what I'm saying? We'll throw it. Till it catches them. You know what I mean?
I do, and I heard you say that. I heard you say that talking to Darian, that the bait is important, but the confidence that you have in the bait, and I guess the time you stay with that bait, and you don't throw it 1 or 2 times and you just put it down and go to something else. It's continuously using that bait and having the confidence in it that you think is very important.
Oh yeah,
because it's a bait that we can just put it in our hand, and even if you're stumped and struggling, we just throw it.
Yeah,
and it's bailed us out many times,
Yeah, you can cover water with it, and it's a bait. When the fish are out there around bait wads and stuff like that, it's one of those baits that's, it's kind of like a jerk bait. You get a jerk bait around a fish that's around a bait wad, he's gonna bite it.
Right.
So you feel like he will if you get it to it, And this is a bait somewhat like that. It's been around a long time and it works, and we're gonna keep using it as long as we keep some of them.
Good deal. One more question, then I'll let you go. You guys, for 11 seasons and going into the 12th, I know you're registered for the 2025 season. why fish the Alabama Bass Trail? If you know somebody who might be thinking about it, or if somebody's listening to the podcast that might be thinking about it, why are you so loyal to the Alabama Bass Trail?
No better organization. That's simple.
It's a
well ran. Go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say it's a well ran organization that you're gonna get to fish against lakes that you know. You're gonna get to fish against the best local anglers on that lake, and you're gonna get to fish against the best people coming into that lake that's not necessarily locals, but have the ability to come into a lake and find fish on any given lake or body of water. And you get to square up against some of the best fishermen in this state and surrounding states, because, I mean, people from other states come fish this trail.
Right.
Yeah, by far. And you're going to meet some guys, you're going to meet some guys along the way, too. Make some friends with people that you probably otherwise wouldn't run into just fishing a local tournament,
Right. Well, there is certainly nothing wrong with fishing local tournaments. I love to see the results on the Coosa River Trail. I love seeing Maddie's results down at the Bridgeport Team Trail as well, along with some of the Lake Eufaula anglers that I get to watch there. I always tune in and look at their results and all of that too, to see how many Alabama Bass Trail anglers are fishing there and to see who might be the next Alabama Bass Trail angler. So I enjoy watching the local trails. I still get a kick out of looking at their results every Saturday and Sunday evening. So I'm tickled to death. I do want to personally thank y'all for being so loyal. Y'all have been here since we started, and I certainly appreciate that. You've seen us grow. You've seen us have growing pains, but you've stuck with us, and I certainly appreciate your loyalty to us. And I am so tickled for y'all to be able to call you the 2024 Alabama Bass Trail champions. That sounds very good, and I hope that, and I know that y'all will represent our trail very, very well. So congratulations again, guys.
Thank you. I told Nick, I said, we may not never win another one. We got one.
You got one. You got a big one.
If you're going to win just one, you might as well win the championship.
That, I was so excited when we were able to start paying that $50,000 first place. Of course, I always wish it is more. And that's a no entry fee deal. So we carve out as much money as we can throughout the year to pay that. And I'm very proud of that, and the fact that we pay out over 100% throughout the year. Those are some things that we're very committed to doing on our trail. And so far we've been able to do it and stay afloat. So that's good. That's good.
Oh yeah. And it's just by the fact of how quick it fills up is a pretty good indication that you're doing something right.
Well,
you know what I'm saying, Kay?
Yeah, I always say I have 1,100 of the best salespeople out there. All the guys that fish with us that comment nice things, or in the tackle stores talking about us nice. We do have a lot of anglers out there telling our story. And, when we first started, we didn't have an advertising budget. So we needed the guys out there talking good about us. And I told the first team that ever worked for me, I told them, I said, we don't have an advertising budget. Y'all are our advertising budget. If we screw up, that'll be our advertising. But if we do well, that will be our advertising. And luckily, to this day, we spend absolutely zero money advertising the tournament trail. Now, we spend quite a bit of money advertising the state of Alabama, but we don't spend any money advertising the trail. So that, to me, is a testament to y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that goes back to, that's a testament to y'all. Y'all are running the trail right and doing things right. Because like I said, it fills up just about as fast as it opens. So
yeah. Well, I do appreciate y'all taking time away from your family to be with me tonight to record this. Congratulations again. And we'll see you guys in 2025.
Thank you very much. We enjoyed it.
Thank y'all. There you go. The 2024 Alabama Bass Trail champions, Nick Turner and Joe Lay, taking home over $50,000. More money than I took home on Saturday. So we'll be back in just a moment. We'll wrap this thing up here on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support. that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Third segment. We're going to wrap this thing up and get you guys back out on the water. A couple things I wanted to point out, and I've lost my notes. I'm going to have to find them. Talking about the top 10, we talked about the weight, that only a half pound different from first and second, 2 1/3 pounds between first and fifth. I was looking at the top 10. 5 of those top 10 teams came from the Alabama Bass Trail North Division. That shocked me because I don't think we picked anybody other than Josh Butts and Stephen McAvoy to have a chance in there. So I was a little surprised by those numbers. 5 of the top 10. You've got Brett Harrell, Tyler Smart, Walker Brown, Sloan Pennington, Fisher and Ryan Anaya, Sean Lawley, Davey Lawley, Nolan Spencer, Jonathan Reese. Yeah, all those in the North Division coming down there to Lay Lake and getting it done. So interesting numbers there for me. I'm always interested to see how many North-South champions we have, and that may have evened us up to nope, still 6 and 5. 6 and 5. That's where we are. 6 and 5. All right. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get going, and that is just a reminder, we are 11 days away from the Alabama Bass Trail 100 on Wheeler Lake, my former home lake. 67,000 acres, second largest body of water on the Alabama chain of the Tennessee River. So looking forward to that. 100 teams, $100,000 and 100% payback, and someone will be awarded those beautiful belts. And I will try to wear those next week so I can show those off. They are your Angler of the Year belt. They also walk away with an Atlas Jack plate from TH Marine for winning Angler of the Year. 41 days away, December 1st. For those of you counting down to Christmas, we're 41 days away from December the 1st. That's when all Alabama Bass Trail 100 payments are due to keep you from not losing your spot in the ABT 100 in 2025. And then you have 60 days from today, the day that you're listening to this on Tuesday, 60 days, December 20th, to pay all of your payments for the Alabama Bass Trail regular series for 2025. All of those can be done at the relative websites, alabamabasstrail100.org and on alabamabasstrail.org. Had 2 guys at the tournament this weekend at Lay Lake say, I went online Friday night after coming to the weigh-in today and registered and got on the waiting list for next year. So we are still adding people to the waiting list. I don't know for sure if they'll get on or in. Depends on how many people we have cancel. But right now, they are registering for the waiting list. So that is just a reminder. I'm looking forward to getting back up to Wheeler Lake and seeing some good friends and spending some time up there. Maybe getting to take my son Jake to dinner. Looking forward to that as well. But that does it for this championship edition, I guess, of the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. Can't thank our winners enough, Nick Turner, Joe Lay, for taking time to speak with us. Just talking with Joe, he just has such old school knowledge and old school things about the way he does, and it works, and it works. So it was just, I don't know, just talking to him and Nick off that, off the side at the championship. And then before we actually recorded the close of the TV show, and then talking to them online prior to us actually recording the podcast, just a lot of great knowledge, loves the sport of bass fishing, truly trust his partner. Nick truly trusts his partner. Just a really cool vibe talking to them. So that is a huge thing in the Alabama Bass Trail. I think you see that time and time again. But before I leave, I want to recognize someone. Mike Hearn and Sugar Walker drove over an hour Friday morning to come and see our team and to deliver us donuts. And we talk about that a lot during the season. They're coming anyway. They're bringing donuts. They were not coming anyway. They fell just short. They were the 6th couples team and did not make the championship. And they showed up Friday morning before I got there with donuts. I got there about 3:00. They were there, way earlier than that to give our team donuts. And I got a little emotional about it. Sugar didn't get to come Saturday. She was walking in the breast cancer awareness walk because she's a warrior and she's a survivor. And I wish I could have been there and walked alongside her. But I don't think people will ever truly understand what our trail, what our anglers mean to us. They are not a paycheck. They are not an entry fee. They are not a spectator. They are not a red and green light on the water. They are truly a part of our lives. And when they hurt, we hurt. And when they are succeeding and excelling, we feel like we're succeeding and excelling. And I watched that happen throughout the season. And I've watched, as people are coming up to me asking me about Terry Tucker, we just have really good people that fish with us. We have good people that work for us. Mr. Danny Montgomery, I don't know if you're listening to us. Danny is part of our team. He's Daniel Montgomery's dad. His two grandsons, Brody and Brendan, were working with us this weekend. And Danny had to go to the hospital Friday night. He had a 4-millimeter kidney stone that made him so violently sick. Daniel took him to the hospital Friday night, stayed with him for most of the night, came back and was working with us on Saturday. Mr. Danny, we're praying for you. We hope that this passes and that you are better and can be with us at Wheeler Lake in a couple of weeks. But I want to start something, and nobody may even respond to it. But if you're listening to this and you've ever wanted to just ask a question to myself, Daniel, John, whoever, I'll get them on the podcast and you can ask it to them. But I want you to send a video. Take your phone, do a selfie video, and ask a question. And say, this question is for John, or this question is for Kay, or this question is for Daniel, this question is for Angela, this question is for Luke, whoever you want to ask a question to. Say, my name is Kay Donaldson. I'm from Coleman, Alabama. My question is for Luke. Video your question, send it to us at kay@alabamabasstrail.org. We will incorporate that into the podcast, and hopefully you'll get the answer to the questions that you've wanted to know all this time. So keep it clean, of course, but if you have a question regarding the Alabama Bass Trail, regarding careers outside of the Alabama Bass Trail, what John does, what Daniel does when they're not working for the Alabama Bass Trail. We know Luke's not doing anything when he's not working for the Alabama Bass Trail. But anybody that you have a question for on our team, if you would, email that to KAY@alabamabasstrail.org. Send me a video asking the question. Again, your name, where you're from, and who your question is posted to, and we'll do our best to entertain your question, get you an answer for that, and have it featured on our podcast. So, guys, that does it. That wraps it up for the Post Alabama Bass Trail Championship podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're just listening on one of your podcast apps, I do hope that you will subscribe, rate, and review our show. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, but rate us out there so that more people are seeing it. It shows up in their algorithms. Thank you for tuning in to the live. Thank you for commenting, sharing, questions, all the things that helps us boost us up in the algorithm so more people see us. Thank you for being a loyal part of our audience. We appreciate you. I hope you know that. I do hope I get to see you in the great state of Alabama, either running the roads or out on the water. Would love to see you. Please come up and say hi. Thank you for being a loyal listener. We will see you, hear you, talk to you next week on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. But until then, God bless, good fishing, and as Big Daddy would always say, get outdoors. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.